So you've been babying your tomatoes like they're royalty. Or maybe simply you've scoured the internet and you think you've done all the best hacks, from planting them a certain depth, using a specific fertilizer, making sure you top them, everything else in between. But what if you're ignoring the actual science behind growing tomatoes? I'm a scientist with a bachelor in soil science.
Yes, it's a real thing.
And I've been gardening since I was 5 years old with my grandma.
Holy sh**.
Yes, I've killed my fair share of marigolds over the years, and I've also spent the last decade working in agriculture, both on a professional and a personal level. So I do think I'm semi-qualified to talk about some of the journals we're going to speak about today, and I can guarantee you that if you've heard of all 5 of these, then either you're a part of the geek crew and you've already hit that subscribe button, or you're just really smart. But if you're not that smart and you're not part of the geek crew, then you probably want to up your game and become a little bit smarter. And the way to actually do that is with Brilliant, today's sponsor. So Brilliant is a learning app that is designed to help you improve your ability to learn, comprehend in a very unique way. Each lesson isn't just simply a video that you're going to tune out or a podcast to listen to. It's actual games that are shown to be 6 times more effective at helping you learn. It's a perfect mix between engaging problem solving to a competitive game type edge, and sometimes you just can't put the app down, to be totally honest. The best part is that it is designed by an award-winning group of people. Teachers, researchers, and professionals from Caltech, MIT, Google, Microsoft, and many more. So for me personally, I've been using the science portion of this app because it does a number of different things, and it helps me both make better YouTube content, but it also just helps me become a more critical thinker. So first off, it helps you understand the world around you a little bit better by grasping onto some principles that make the world go round. It also helps you think a little bit closer to an engineer or a scientist in some respects, particularly around the technology and what we know about the world of science around us. So if this is something that you want to try out, then you want to check out either this QR code or the pinned comment or the description down below, which will give you 30 days free access to the Brilliant app. And if you choose to sign on, you actually get 20% off your first year. If you want to become a more science-based thinker, a scientist, if you will, then check out those links down below. And Brilliant, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. But since we can't put our tomatoes onto the Brilliant app, let's send our tomatoes to Harvard with Geek Crew content. This is one that I have been DM'd about. I have had in the comments because it is a concept that I introduced, I believe in passing last year, because I use it all the time, and that is temperature differential. If you're looking for a tomato that is more resistant to damage via mechanical manipulation, whether that's your pets, your kids, wind, then temperature differential can be very valuable. It literally can change the entire look of your plant. So when your daytime temps are warmer than your nighttime temps, particularly when we're talking about seedlings, then we end up with a longer stem. This is what we call positive dip. Now, if your nighttime temps are actually the warmer temp, or they are equal to the same temp as your daytime temps, then you end up with a shorter, stockier, thicker stem. This is considered negative diff. There's actually a meta-analysis that was done on this concept, and it specifically is looking at auxin synthesis, which is essentially the growth hormone that you find within plants. So I'll leave a link to that down below. But essentially what that is saying is that we want that negative differential. So we want nighttime temps to either be warmer or equal to our daytime temps. And the reason for that is because when we don't have stem elongation and we end up with shorter, stockier internodes, shorter, stockier tomato plants, they become more resistant to mechanical manipulation or damage, and then they also are a little bit more durable when it comes to uptake of nutrients. Because think of it this way, if a straw is long and skinny, it's not going to be able to uptake and move as much as a stockier straw. Anyone who's had a Slurpee before knows this. You can't drink a Slurpee unless you got like the thick straw. Am I right? Or boba. Boba is another one. You need the thick straw, obviously. So what you want to do to make sure that your tomato plants are thick, T-H-I-C-C thick, you want to make your nighttime temps warmer than your daytime temps. And this is why I always say this, and people are always shocked by it. I do not transplant my tomato seedlings outside until it is a minimum of like June 10th where I am, because those nighttime temps dipping too low, combined with the fact that the nighttime temps are so freaking cold compared to the daytime temps where I am anyways, that massive positive diff is going to cause huge amounts of elongation, and I don't want that. I want short and stout because that is better. Number 2 is that tomato plants are massive drama queens when it comes to their root temperatures. So we've all heard about burying the tomatoes as deep as possible because that is what they need. But what if I told you what they need is actually a very specific or ideal root temp? Too cold and your plant will slow down its growth. Too warm and it's just not going to perform the way it needs to. The ideal temperature for a tomato's root is around the 20 degrees Celsius mark or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you're like, oh, that's not that warm. It is when we're talking about soil. So the best way to do this is to actually take a soil temp thermometer and to probe your soil at various different depths. I can't tell you how deep to plant your tomato. There is no one size fits all. The reason for that is because if you're planting in a container or a raised bed or in ground, those three, even if they had the same soil, are going to have completely different temperatures. You combine that with a sunnier location versus shadier location. You combine that with a clay soil versus an organic soilless medium, and it all falls apart. You need to be a little bit of your own garden scientist here, Geek Crew, and you need to figure out each individual bed or each individual positioning of your plant, what the ideal depth is for the temperature capture at that 20 degrees Celsius. So for me personally, I am in a zone 3. It is incredibly cold, and in my beds, particularly in the center and the back of the bed that doesn't get a lot of light, I do plant my tomatoes flush with the soil surface. I do not bury them ever. The ones I bury are going to be the ones that are in containers and or in my front yard in the smaller kind of raised beds that I have, because that soil can and will get very warm fast. Nutrients are stage aware, unlike your ex. Here's the thing. Tomatoes don't need all nutrients all at once. They actually like specific nutrients at specific times. Just like a brunch, you have your mimosas first, then you have a little bit of brunch, more mimosa, a little bit more brunch, more mimosa, and then maybe some dessert with more mimosa. Tomatoes are the same. They're my spirit plant. So essentially just giving the plant an all-purpose or a bloom formula all the time at any stage is the equivalent of like chugging a protein drink when you're having a nap. Not ideal. So at the seedling stage, we're looking for lots of phosphorus. The reason for that is because that is key for root development. Now, if you watched my video on my leggy tomato plants and correcting that issue, I'm gonna be putting in a lot more phosphorus for these guys because I need more root, because I've had to correct it with putting it in deeper. Putting it in deeper always correct everything. All issues are corrected that way, this one included. If you don't have a tomato plant that needs to be sunk to the depth of your mother's grave because of the fact that they're leggy, what you want to do is look at what a seedling stage is. I'm going to put some photos up. That is seedling stage. I did a whole video on this. Seedling stage is not what you think it is. That is seedling stage, which you're looking at right here. The vegetative stage, you want more nitrogen. And this is really the only time you want more nitrogen. You sure as heck don't want it when they're seedlings, and you sure as heck don't want it when they're fruiting, because it's actually going to reduce your fruits and flowers. Only the vegetative stage is when you should be giving them something that's higher in nitrogen. At the flowering and the fruit setting stage, you actually want higher levels of potassium, along with higher levels of calcium, magnesium that's bioavailable, but that's probably really not an issue. I've done done videos upon videos of that. I digress. That is when you actually want to add in that potassium. Now, there was an entire meta-analysis done on the concept specific to tomatoes, and what they did is they looked at different nutrient values being introduced to a tomato plant at different phenological stages of that plant's growth. And the nutrient kind of ranges I gave you just now are exactly what's in that study as being deemed the most effective. So the tactical tip is you're going to do the middle number, phosphorus, first. Then we're going to move to nitrogen, the first number, and then we're going to move to potassium for the third number. And so for me personally, while the study didn't say to do this, I do see some benefits in it, and that is actually using that phosphorus fertilizer again just prior to beginning to bump up outside all the way into the first week or two of that tomato plant being placed outdoors. And the reason for that is because I want a strong root system going into the transplant process, and I want a strong root system moving out of the transplant process, just to reduce that level of shock that sometimes our tomato plants can end up with. Number 4 is actually the concept of Goldilocks zones. I spoke about the temperature differential side, and that's just speaking about the temperatures themselves in relation to each other, the night and the daytime ambient temperatures in relation to each other. What if I told you that the in relation actually has a boundary in which they have to fall? So too low, 10 degrees Celsius or lower, which is, my Americans out there, I do have your guys' numbers. I'm going to start doing this for you. 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So 10 degrees to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Anything below that, and growth stops. Root growth stops, shoot growth stops, fruiting and flowering stops. It's done. It's over with. It doesn't matter if it hits that during the day. It doesn't matter if it hits that during the night. It doesn't matter if it hits that after it's transplanted. It doesn't matter if it hits it while it's sitting in a container like this in a greenhouse. If it goes below 10 degrees Celsius, growth stops, and it takes a little bit of time to recover before the plant can continue to grow again. Don't go below 10 degrees Celsius. But on the other side of this is too hot. Now here's the truth. If you're part of the geek crew, you're hot already. So key is going to be just spend less time with your tomatoes because they don't like that heat. But if you're not hot and you aren't a part of the geek crew because you haven't hit subscribe yet, then you only actually have to watch out for one value, and that is 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason why we want to watch out for this is because photosynthesis actually stops. Pollen, the actual pollen, begins to die, and the flowers tend to fall off. So this means that if it is 35 degrees out, you may need to consider watering the plant's leaves, putting friggin' ice cubes in the bed, or using mulch, nice thick mulch, and the correct color of mulch to actually cool down that soil surface and the surface around the plant. Make sure you have proper spacing so there's proper air movement so that it's not really hot in the space that the plants are in, and shade cloth, stuff like that. Anything to bring that temperature down is going to be key because of the 3 things that are affected by this, and none of these 3 things are good. If you've ever thought like, man, I have so many flowers, they always fall off, it's probably temperature. Or you think to yourself, man, I always have so many flowers, they don't fall off, but they don't seem to produce any tomatoes. It's because you're killing the pollen with the heat. Number 5 is Acylsugars. This is the tomatoes bug repellent. Tomatoes actually produce a sugar, and I'm sure you've actually felt this before when you go to touch a tomato stem. Sometimes your hands come away sticky. These are the Acylsugars kind of being emitted, and they help protect against aphids, whiteflies, literally any freeloader out there. These sugars will discourage them. But here's the really cool part about these sugars. You can actually increase them. So there are specific varieties that are a little bit higher in these sugars. So if you know you have whiteflies or aphid issues, then you can use a very specific variety for this. You can also use stressors, and these stressors actually increase metabolites within the plant, which in turn results in more sugars. So 2 ways to do this is kind of like a mini drought and or changing that temperature and causing some temperature stress. We also have potassium itself. So potassium promotes more of these sugars, so you could make sure that when a time comes that the plant gets more potassium. And then actually maximizing the light that the plant is exposed to, whether that's indoors under a grow light, in your greenhouse, or in the garden. The increase in light actually encourages more trichomes, and these trichomes that are increased due to being kind of like a sunscreen in turn results in more of the glandular trichomes to be formed, which in turn releases more of these sugars. Essentially, you want to get hybrids that are high in this, you want to increase the potassium, and you want to ensure that your tomatoes get enough sun. Next time you're tempted to follow some really old school tomato tricks such as eggs and fish heads underneath the tomato, take a breath, sit back, and actually use some science. Your science-based tactics will result in wonderful flavor bombs come fall. If you want more science, evidence-based gardening tips, then hit that subscribe button, give this video a share, and comment down below what tip blew your mind and you never knew about.